Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the Green Eyes Bandit podcast. You already know who's your coach, yours truly. And today I'm talking about the big comeback fight that got everyone buzzing. Keith Thurman's thunderous return to the ring. So let's dive into that fight, guys. Wow, I'm very impressed by Keith Thurman. Honestly speaking, I thought he was going to have some trouble with Jarvis. I really didn't even have a prediction because I'm not really big on Jarvis' style of boxing, you know what I mean? I seen him get knocked out by Liam Parrow, and he looked awful, man, the way he was jumping in there. Now, however, I have seen that he has worked on his technique. I'm not sure if he has a good team with him. I think the last time we seen him get knocked out by Liam Parrow, he had his father in his corner, if I'm not mistaken, and then later on started working with a legendary boxer, Jeff Finech, who was one of my favorite fighters when I was growing up, beat one of my other favorite fighters, Azuma Nelson. However, man, Keith Thurman made a thunderous, a triumphant return after 3 years away from the ring. He showed no signs of ring rust, which was very surprising. And caught Jarvis with the devastating left uppercut, man, that just sent him crashing to the canvas. Now, Jarvis did manage to get back up, but he was on wobbly legs, and Keith Thurman sensed the victory and just jumped on him with a flurry of punches, and the referee jumped in and was prompted to stop the fight. Now, let me tell you something, guys. I am one of these coaches that always believe in getting a tune-up bout. We've seen it so many times in the past where fighters says, I don't need a tune-up bout, and they go straight into the ring after a year and a half layoff, 2 years layoff, and come back and, fall short of their victories, right? Keith Thurman, on the other hand, was away from the ring for 3 years. His last fight was in 2022 against Mario Barrios. And before that, he was away from the ring for 2 years also. And that fight, I thought Mario Barrios was going to win that fight. He's one of my favorite young fighters to watch in the game. Yet, Thurman surprised me in that fight too, and came and boxed a good game against Mario Barrios and, beat him by, I think it was a unanimous decision, right? Or a split decision, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Don't remember too well. But he beat Mario Barrios, right? A very good contender. You guys know that. Now, this fight only lasted 3 rounds. We don't know if after the 4th or 5th round, Keith Thurman was going to continue having that stamina or endurance to continue on and fight 12 rounds. But he did it against Barrios with 2 years layoff, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was going to do it anyway also in this fight also. And surprisingly so too, because he had good footwork, bouncing around, using the angles, catching Jarvis with some good right hands, you know what I mean? He was taking advantage of some of the openings that Jarvis will open up with, and Jarvis, he didn't look that bad as far as the style. Like I said, he actually fixed his form. He had both his hands up. He was moving well. He was looking to knock out Keith Thurman. However, I think that also affected him a little bit. I saw an interview with Thurman after the fight, and Thurman said that, it looked like he was still bitter. He was still holding on to that animosity, and sometimes that could hinder you. You go in there with a lot of anger sometimes. You might lose control of the fact that you're in there with a legend, a guy that could box and a guy that could punch. So that's why a lot of times we tell our fighters, stay cool, calm, and collective, right? That's very important. You don't want to lose your temper because then you lose control. However, another thing, I saw an interview with his former coach, which is Jeff Finech. I was very surprised when I saw that interview because unfortunately, that's a good coach, man. You don't want to get rid of coaches like that in your corner. And Jeff Finech is a legend over there in Australia, but he's a legend for us here in the States also. And he didn't say it in details, but it sounded like Jarvis wanted to do his own thing. He wasn't listening, probably not at the gym the way he was supposed to, which I doubt, because his body, you could tell his body's been in the gym. However, physically is being physically ready for a fight and mentally ready for a fight are two different things also, okay? You have to have both, okay? You can't just go in there with one. So, listen, this is a lesson learned for Jarvis, I don't know what they're going to do with him next. I know that Keith Thurman called out Tim Tszyu, and that's going to be a good fight. That one I expect to go 12 rounds. And that one I believe has to happen quick now because, Keith Thurman just had this victory, and it'll be good for him to stay consistent. Tim Tszyu is coming off a loss himself also. Has been away from the ring for a little while. So that'll be a good catch for Keith Thurman. Who do I got winning that fight? Let me study both of them a little bit better before I make a prediction on that one, and I'll come back in another video. But that one's gonna be a good fight. I mean, the way Keith Thurman looked today, he looked awesome. He looked great. He looked like a champion. He looked like he didn't lose anything and like he wasn't away for 3 years. But, we know that Tim Tszyu is a different type of animal, okay? But anyway, guys, listen, thanks for coming up. Don't forget, hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Take care.